My name is Caleb. I'm a communication strategist. And quite frankly, the hardest thing I deal with is not my client's work. It is my own personal work. Like, I have all the access to the most amazing gear that I've ever wanted since I began this, 15 years ago. And yet I have a hard time a lot of times figuring out what it is that I want to talk about and how I want to do it. Should it be a podcast, a newsletter, a YouTube channel? Should I focus too much on social media? All these different things. So what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is walk myself through what I normally walk my clients through when I'm having this conversation. So let's get started. The first thing is determining, okay, if here in the middle is me, then what are the things I like? So I would say out from here, I've always been drawn to the topic of leadership. Just always have. I can go into a lot of storytelling, but that's one thing. I love talking about creativity. I have a newsletter called The Stubborn Optimist, so I love talking about things like hope, optimism. I'm a dad and a business owner, and I love my community, so all of those things kind of so personal life. Now, what often I would say next is, okay, so let's then figure out what are the things that you want to talk about? So I would say that I feel comfortable talking about creativity, hope and optimism. My personal life, I don't mind talking about. It's not my main focus though. Being a dad or community stuff or husband or whatever. And I don't mind talking about leadership, although I don't know how many people want to listen to a 34-year-old guy's thoughts on leadership because I'm still learning a whole lot. But let's just say for the sake of argument, these three. So then what I'm going to say is, okay, let's talk about creativity and hope / optimism. And then we're going to put, just for kicks, leadership down here in the next part. Now, here's what I know as a communication strategist. There are vehicles to talk about all these things, right? So let's think about kind of big buckets here or different avenues. So one avenue is going to be social. So this is going to be, I would say at this point at the end of 2024, I would focus mainly on the things that I personally have and use on a regular basis, which for very community focused things, Facebook, I love posting Instagram stories, and then TikTok. I'm not super interested in any of the other platforms right now. I know another vehicle is going to be a newsletter, which I already have. And so that's where I talk about the Stubborn Optimist Club, and it goes out weekly. I also have a short video. So this is written, and then a short video that kind of goes into more detail about the things that I talk about in the newsletter. So the newsletter is short. Another thing is podcasts. So I've had several podcasts. I currently have one with the guy who I have the studio with. It's called The Archive Podcast. We talk about business and being dads and creativity. And then another potential one is a YouTube channel. And this is what I've wanted to do for the longest time. And I've put out videos before, just never have felt like I found my voice in it. But I think what I'm realizing is that perhaps each of these has like a different part of one of the main topics here towards the top. And so for instance, on social, one of the things I do with Facebook is I mainly post personal stuff. On Instagram stories, I post the day-to-day. It's like a practice in storytelling, just a little short vignettes of my day. TikTok, I post just like random thoughts and podcast clips and clips of when I do keynotes. The Stubborn Optimist Club, this is already something that's rolling out really easily. And then for the podcast, let's put on here the archive. And then I'm playing around currently with the idea of starting, as part of my newsletter, the Stubborn Optimist Club, starting a podcast. It's just a solo podcast of me covering something. And so we might just put the Stubborn Optimist Club here, and then not quite sure the format of it yet, but perhaps weekly as far as frequency is concerned. And then YouTube, this is the one that I've had the most consternation about. It's the one that I just feel like I haven't been able to figure out. But one of the things I'm really beginning to think seriously about, documentation. And just doing stuff like this. Like, this is me figuring out with you what it is that I think I'm going to do. So I think it's going to be like behind the scenes. I think it's going to be me talking about, in more long form, ideas that have really helped me. And then perhaps just things that I'm learning. I don't think I'm going to vlog, so I don't want to put any of that pressure on me. And I think that is a really key point I often point out with my clients is like, if something feels like too much of a heavy lift, just don't, it's not even an option right now. Like, we're not even talking about that. This is just things that you could start doing today. You're like, yeah, I think I could do that. And so like, this is my current layout of what I see and am able and feel like I can figure out. And so with that being said, this has actually been very helpful for me, talking this through. Thank you for being my thought partner today. But yeah, I think this is what I'm going to go forward with. And then ultimately just figuring out, okay, the two big questions, and this is what I would end on because I have to actually get into a meeting. One is, what is the kind of area of focus for each of these? So what are the things I'm going to talk about, and what are the things I'm not going to talk about? And then what is the frequency? And so this isn't meant to be something that chains you up to it. It's something instead that helps you to say, oh, I have an idea of how often I need to hit publish. And then if I have an idea of how often I need to hit publish, then I have an idea then of my creation schedule. And then if there's gonna be a creation schedule, it's ideation before that. So it's kind of giving some structure to the whole thing. So think of area of focus as helpful guardrails that keep you from going into areas that you don't need to, kind of like staying in your lane, but in a positive and respectful way. And then think of frequency as just structure. That's all it is. Just putting some structure to the whole thing. Anyways, yeah, thanks for sitting with me. I'm going to finish my snack and this cup of coffee, and I have to get into a meeting. I'm already running late. See you guys on the next one.